This is a 3-part series where I'll show you how I made this sculpture diorama called the Taurian versus Libran. Most of you have heard of the famous Greek legend, the Minotaur. In the world of Gaia though, it's called the Taurian. However, designing this creature has had its difficulties. Take Mr. Daily Crouton. Let's slap a bull's head on his slight frame. Okay. Take Mr. Lots of Steroids here. Surely it'll look better. Nope. Now take Mr. Cow Sandwich. Oh man. Over many years, with tears and tantrums, I tried to work it out. So here is a height guide. The dude on the far left is 5'8", and the dude on the far right shoots right up to 9 foot. And why? Well, to fit the head on a human body, it needs a very tall, bulky body mass, with huge neck muscles to hold up its huge heavy head and horns. If I was to put this head on a human torso, the neck would just snap. Once I finally got the transition of the neck muscles looking right, the rest of the muscular anatomy fell into place much more naturally, such as the large bony hands, bigger rib cage and hooves and so on. So I designed 2 different types here. The first one is leaner and the second one has some body fat, bulk and fur. Both of these I'm rather happy with. Giving them armour was a lot of fun here, with different styles from different time periods and from different parts of the world. These are very rough sketches. I know some of these are horrible to look at, but that's because they're raw and they're the first images that come into mind. It took me a while to figure out a pose for the Taurian, and you can see I was trying to get it right. Ignore the horrendous anatomy, I was just focusing on the ideas in the early stages. So they look kind of funny at first, but I get there eventually. I know it looks like there's light shining into the Taurian's eyes in some of these drawings. That was definitely something I tried to work out because it just looked a bit funny. These are sketches of the Libran. I'm trying to figure out her pose here. So the idea was she's flying from above and she lands on the Taurian shield, which he's holding up. But with these sketches, I didn't draw a shield because that idea wasn't conceived yet. So that's why you see him holding an axe. This is a large illustration I created in 2023, where you can see the Taurian in his samurai armour. These are early sculptures that I made. There will be more one day. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. So I'm layering on super sculpty clay onto the armature. I try not to focus on one area too much. I'm trying to get as much clay I can on as possible and build up the musculature. For demonstration purposes, I'm putting on all the muscle, even though it's going to be covered up later. So I'm working on the head right now. It looks really funny because I'm working from the bottom up. What I mean is, let's say you got a piece of wood and you're carving from the outside in. With sculpting, it's the opposite. So you're creating the form by building up layers. Understanding anatomy is very important. This isn't exact anatomy what I'm doing. It's half human, half bull. So I'm trying to show that in my work. I'm trying to make him very big and muscular, and then I tighten it up so you can see the details more. So I'm using a loop tool which shaves the clay, and this is a dental tool, which is one of my favourite tools, and it's a tiny flat head at the end. The head is shaped at an angle, and it's easy to form the clay. And the other end is like a knife, so it cuts and smooths the surface. I use my fingers as much as possible to shape as much as I can at first, really. So as you can see, I build layers, I use tooling, use my fingers, I use pretty much everything. The process really slows down the more detail you put in. The way this armature has been made is that it dismantles and then you can put it back together again easily. The reason I do this is because it's easy to work on each individual part, and also in the future I would very much like to make a mold and cast of it. Hope you can forgive quality of the video. At the time I was using an old video camera and it was only capable of HD, and it wasn't the best quality camera either, but this is the best that I've got. I go back and forth on each part of this sculpture until it starts looking right. Now it's getting somewhere with his head. You can clearly see that the details are much more prominent now. So what I'm doing with this brush, I'm using rubbing alcohol to smooth down the surface. Are you wondering why it's suddenly grey and fleshy colour? I'll explain. So since I do this in different time segments, what I actually did, I baked the clay in the oven and then I sprayed it with a grey primer. It just brings out all the details and I can see all the mistakes. Here, and I added more clay and put in more detail. I know it looks funny, but if you just stick with it, you'll see. So you may be wondering why I make something and it looks finished and then I go over it again and then I do it again and again. It's because I think there's room for improvement, so I just add more, and that's a good thing about sculpture, is that you can add more. Now I'm using a brush to smooth it all out, again using rubbing alcohol. Now this white stuff is Apoxie Sculpt, which is epoxy putty, and it hardens after 2 to 3 hours of use. Right here I'm making tiny little armatures for the ball horns. The reason it's threaded, it gives it strength, and also it helps the clay grip to the wire easily. You can see here there's thin wire covering that piece of wire as well. Again, that helps the clay grip to it easily. Now what I'm doing here, I covered it in foil so the clay doesn't stick to the head, because I'm making a helmet, you see. And so I cover the whole thing with Epoxy Sculpt, then I shape it. I love making accessories for my sculptures. Using another dental tool and I smooth it out. As you can see here, there's another part to it. I used flat pieces of metal and then I sculpted over the top. Now this is the bottom part of the mask. Here's a little demo to see what it looks like at this stage. I remember being quite happy with this bit. There will be more details after this, but this is the first stage. I do hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.